Development of assessment rubric. I'll explain how to develop assessment rubrics in this video, and I'll also post all the reference material, including this PowerPoint, in the openeducator.com for yourself. This is the seven learning outcomes for the engineering programs by the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology. I'll be using this example. However, this is common to basically any discipline. For example, communication skills, ethics, lifelong learner, things like that, team working. So I'll be primarily using those are common to all disciplines. So here, the number 7 is basically we want our students to be the lifelong learners. How do we develop an assessment rubric for that? This is the rubric suggested by the American Association for Colleges and Universities. I'll post a link to this material, also to their organization link. So they identified these 5 different elements. Those are associated with the lifelong learning, and then to what extent they receive this. This organization also suggests that you can basically modify it, adapt it, whatever way you want. A lot of time I see just 3 levels should be fine. Below the expectation, meet the expectation, exceed the expectation, rather than the 4 levels of performance. However, I'll post this in the openeducator.com, and then you can basically adopt it for yourself. Now, another rubric is the team working skills. We do a lot of team projects. A lot of time we don't assess them correctly in a way that we can find the weaknesses and strength of team working skills. Now, this rubric is from the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. They have a separate dedicated institution for assessment, and this was suggested by them. I'll post a link to that in the openeducator.com so you can read the entire documents. I think it's 300 pages, PowerPoint presentation, and so on. Very nicely developed document. It was in just 1 year or 2 year back ago. Now, this one is the ethics. You can see that this is basically at 3 levels. Also, this one is again suggested by the External Board of Engineering and Technology accreditation program. Now, it's kind of common to any discipline, so it doesn't have, you can basically adapt it to your program, whether it's say some different types of programs or not. It's okay to use this, and it's kind of generically written, so it should be applied to any program basically. Then the communication skill, also common to basically any programs, and it identifies these 5 different elements of writing. There are a bunch of different kinds of communication skills that engineer basically develop over their program. But writing is basically common to any program, and you can see that there are these 3 levels of 4 levels of performance. You can make it to 3 levels if you want for your program. This is the one I want to talk about a little bit more. If you read the number 1 learning outcome from the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology for engineering programs, and I think there are a lot of other programs learning outcome. They're written using multiple learning outcomes in one learning outcomes. If you look at this, identify, formulate, and solve complex problem, you can't really look at all of them together. You have to kind of separate them so that it has enough diagnostic value of whether a student are actually be able to identify, are they able to formulate, are they able to solve engineering problem. So I have separated that into 3 components. One is just to identify the problem. So applying science engineering, of course, you just don't say, hey, there is a problem, my car is not starting. That's not how you identify an engineering problem. An engineering identifying problem would be there is not enough voltage to the spark or something like that. Then formulate is probably one of the difficult thing we see for our students. Even at the final senior design project, we see the problems are not clearly defined in terms of objectives, functions, constraints, things like that. And this is the rubric for basically to assess, formulate, and then solving problem again. If you look at this below expectation, meet expectation, and exceed expectation, if you look at the language of exceed expectation, advanced principles of engineering and science and mathematics. Now here in the learning outcome, it didn't use the word advanced. However, you'll see that once in a while we see a student basically amazed you by bringing a solution that you probably didn't even think about. So exceeding so we can keep it simple: below expectation, meet expectation, exceeding expectation, and so on. I'll post these documents, including all the materials that I've used for this, in the openeducator.com. So you can basically use it whatever way you want. It's okay to copy rubrics. And I think it's better to follow rubrics. Those are developed by some expert than to make it something on your own. So all of these rubrics that I am sharing with you here is basically developed by experts. So we can basically be confident on that. Yes, they work, or we are doing something good instead of making one. And it takes a lot of time to do that too.